And joining us live in studio is Dr. Shahida Isaaq. She is the Director for the Registration of Private Higher Education. On the line, we have Graham Block, an education reformist and expert, and we hope to get Lihle Nkosi, a student, on the line as well. Dr. Isaaq, thanks so much for your time, and a happy Reconciliation Day to you.
Same to you, Cindy. Good evening, and thank you for having us here tonight.
Okay, now from our report, Lungani, it seems that the Department of Higher Education's attempts to clean up these bogus institutions is either bottlenecked or there are some challenges there. How successful has it been?
Look, Cindy, I think over the years we have been very successful. Now, where the challenges arise is, look, it's a criminal act, right? And like any form of criminal behavior, these guys become very clever, and their modus operandi changes all the time, and they know how to play the system. So we've learned we've got to be 10 steps ahead. And one of the biggest campaigns we've actually launched in the past year is the public awareness campaign, and it's worked very, very well. Because many students have been coming, and parents and employers, reporting all kinds of irregular behavior. And in many ways, that's like our intelligence system. And we have been able to analyze and understand how they operate. And because we understand now what it is that's going on, we are in a better position to deal with them locally with SAPS and the Hawks, but we also work with our counterparts in the UK.
But what makes is this because there are loopholes in the system, or as you're saying, these are sophisticated syndicates, or is it the fact that there is less monitoring and policing?
I think it's a combination of factors. But one of the problems we picked up recently was that many of the private CETA accredited providers get accredited to offer one program. And they hide behind that accreditation and offer a range of unregistered programs. Now, many students, many matriculants who don't qualify for the diploma program, for the university diploma program, are drawn to any other diploma, especially if it's linked to the words international qualification, international accreditation, foreign qualification. Now, a foreign provider cannot operate in this country without proper accreditation and registration with the department. That's the first thing. But what was alarming for us was that a number of these international qualifications were not even recognized by the state authorities in the country of origin. So the student is sitting with nothing.
Okay, what are the numbers that we're talking about of these fly-by-night or bogus colleges?
Look, I don't think we have exact numbers, but I think there are many students. And we need to appreciate as well that it cuts across the race and class divide. So there's a perception that certain groups of students are targeted and they are victims. It's not necessarily the case, because we are getting more and more information from very wealthy kids who somehow have been swindled, and we are currently dealing with that.
All right, Graham Block on the line. Good evening to you, Graham, and happy Reconciliation Day. You know, we talk about graduates that are sitting with qualifications, that are unemployed, etc. I wonder how many of those could possibly be sitting with qualifications that are not certified, that are not accredited, and they've wasted their money and were duped by these bogus colleges. Where does this phenomenon even start from?
Look, I think that people are desperate to register for the technical vocational education that colleges provide, and that's probably better than universities. So I think it just stems from desperation, but don't register for bogus colleges.
Yeah, but I mean also the awareness campaign that the Department of Higher Education has embarked on to give people a sense of, or rather to empower people in the questions that they ought to ask at colleges, as opposed to just rushing to it because it happens to either be popular or it's the last resort. Now, Dr. Isaaq, what does your program, empowerment program, entail?
Okay, it's basically a two-pronged program. The one is to raise public awareness, and we try to keep the message very simple. Make sure that the college is accredited and registered with the department for that particular program. Now, where the private provider is accredited by a CETA or the Quality Council for Trades and Occupations, they'll have to verify with the relevant CETA or the QCTO. Now, alongside that, when we shut one door, we need to advise students where to go. So the department does have a career development unit. And I want to say to all students, keep your options open. If you find yourself without place, if you need help, if you need guidance, call us at the department, and our Career Development Center would be able to advise them on what to do and where to go.
And Graham, just to, you said the sense of desperation where parents want to give their children a prospects of a successful life by giving them the necessary qualifications. What would you say are the red flags when you go into an institution, particularly if it's a short-term course? What warnings would you give to students?
Well, you have to ask the department that. And I think Shad has been very upfront on that. But don't register without asking the department.
No, okay.
Okay, there are many colleges and private training providers that offer short courses. Now, students need to, I would advise them to look out for the following. Is the program passed off as a qualification? Because if that's the case, then it's got to be registered on the National Qualifications Framework, appropriately accredited, and then registered with the department. Now, there are part qualifications, unit standards that are currently accredited by the CETAs. So if the provider makes claim to accreditation, they need to verify, is it properly accredited? Then they need to establish how long the college has been in existence. They need to establish from other students, they need to engage critically. Now, a lot of the short courses that we talk about are like training programs for people who are already in employment. So a 3-day program in labor dispute or conflict resolution. Those kinds of training providers are operating within the law. There are no claims to NQF registration, credits, NQF levels, etc., etc. So students need to engage critically, and if there's a doubt, wherever there's a doubt, they need to call us in the department, because we have guys who call us to say, I am at this college and I hope to get my '08 license. We don't register such colleges, but we can advise them on what to look for.
Okay, but who are the operators, or rather the bogus college management? Do you have a profile? Do you have a registrar of these institutions?
Yes. If I can just go back to the beginning, and I think it's important just to go through the legislation very quickly, because there's a lot of confusion and misinformation. The Constitution, Article 29(3), requires private providers of education and training to be registered with the department. Now, in this regard, we have two sets of legislation. The Higher Education Act, that registers private higher education institutions, and the Colleges Act that registers private colleges. Alongside that, we have the private CETA accredited and the QCTO accredited providers. Now, if we have a huge big college in front of us and it is not registered and accredited against those frameworks, we need to start asking questions. Who are you and what are you? And as I mentioned to you earlier, the modus operandi changes. So we have the bogus operators on two extremes: the sophisticated online internet distance education fraudsters, and then those colleges that we see in the city center and in the platteland, because it's happening there as well. And then in between, we have all kinds of irregular behavior. So that's the legislation against which we work. And so anything that falls outside of that, we have to examine critically.
All right, but which are the key ones that have been around for years, that haven't been investigated, and somehow remain under the radar or just fall short of breaking the law?
Okay, I think I want to mention a few, because they are listed on the UK list of bogus colleges as well. There's the New World Mission Dunamis University. It's online and they move from place to place. It's very cyber, in the air. There's Calvary University. And Calvary University is listed on the UK list of bogus colleges. Now, the anecdotal evidence before us says that the idea was coined by a group of ex-convicts in the US. It's pure internet, it's online, it doesn't exist anywhere except on the internet and in the imagination of individuals. And there are many people who have an honors, master's, PhD from Calvary University. But we cannot pin them down. For 16 years, we've been looking for the head of the institution, the vice chancellor, principal, senate, council, nothing.
My goodness. Wow, that's scary stuff indeed. And Daniel, thanks for your call. You're calling us from Mamelodi. Happy Reconciliation Day. Good evening and welcome.
Yes, hello, how are you, Cindy?
Good, thank you.
Okay, look, I've been to the Department of Higher Education and Learning, several times, asking about the college, if it's registered for certain qualifications. They'll say to you, why did you go to that particular college, knowing very well that you suspect that it's not registered? Look, the Department of Education is the one that is failing a lot of people. That's why students you find that they just go there to register and carry on. Because there are some people in that department who are not doing their work properly.
What do you mean the department is failing students who voluntarily go to these bogus colleges, albeit unwittingly, but they themselves go there? How did the department fail students?
We go and ask, is this particular college registered? And they say, why you went there knowing you had suspicions that particular college is not registered. So why did you spend your money in that particular college? Instead of helping us and say, look, this is the college that can check for you, and then this college is not registered or not.
All right, Daniel, as Dr. Isak said, I think there's a register that is easily available. Do you have a list of all of these?
Yes. And yes, there are registers on the department's website, and if they call us on the toll-free number, we can give them the information. But just the point is taken. The point is taken. Now, on the statement of matric results going forward, every matriculant, when he or she receives the matric results, the warning statement is inserted, and the department's contact details are there as well. So we've made great strides, and we are intending to make great strides again going forward.
Graham, is this something, obviously going into a modern society, that there is that desire for instant gratification or getting things a little bit quicker, a shorter course that you can do online? It may be at a higher fee, but it's more convenient, that people are lured by that sense of convenience and accessibility.
Look, there's no short take on these things. But you shouldn't pay money to a bogus college. And you should know what the internet provides. And you should be able to phone the department.
All right, Graham, thanks so much for your time. That's Graham Block, an education expert. We're still in studio with Dr. Shaheeda Isak. She is the director for the registration of private higher education institutions. You were saying about the convictions. You have cases that are long running and that requires quite intense investigation. So how successful have you been?
Look, we've been successful. I wouldn't say we haven't been successful, because from that 50, the number you've quoted, quite a few. We've shut down many. In Braamfontein, we are left with one. But there's something I want to explain here. It's like any other form of crime. So students report an unregistered college. We begin the investigation, and we then discover, but this college is linked to other forms of crime as well. So the investigations do take long, because we need the hard evidence so that it can stand in court. And some of the cases we are working on, these colleges are linked to illegal immigration, tax evasion as well. And what's disturbing is something we picked up in the last month, because we go around looking at these colleges and we know the individuals. We try, unlike the internet online, with these colleges you can pin them down to faces and names. 2 guys who already served time in jail are already out, back in business, getting up to the same tricks. So our message to students is very simple. Establish with the department if the college and the program is accredited and registered.
But you were saying that they could be accredited to offer one qualification
yes.
and then add on other programs that are not certified.
Yes.
So it's easy still to, at face value, appear to be legitimate, and it's not.
Correct. But going forward, again, all of the private CETA accredited providers and the QCTO providers will now be required to be registered with the department. So every private college and institution would be registered with the department. The registration certificate, which is displayed, which is supposed to be displayed visibly on the premises of the college, cites the programs that are accredited and registered. And the college, those are the only recognized qualifications.
Yeah, I mean, with the case studies that we spoke to, people have gone into extensive debt in order to see their kids through school. I think one student, they'd spend close on 400,000 Rand over a 3-year qualification that essentially is null and void. And to reclaim that money, you still have to exercise the court processes. So it's quite traumatic for families that have been duped by this.
It is traumatic, but when students come to us and parents, we try to examine, we try to establish, but there's the department, we have the registers, there's the awareness campaign, and basically everybody knows where to look and what to look for. So how did you end up in this situation? And it's very sad, as Graham mentioned earlier, what we realized is that it's desperation. And these colleges are able to mislead. Somehow they look respectable, they look decent, they seem to be well qualified. From the city center to the Platteland, you'll find very nice buildings, and students get misled. It's just unfortunate. But what we've discovered is that it's desperation and across the class divide.
And are these students typically who do not qualify for the mainstream academic programs, or that fall short of the aggregate or criteria?
On the whole, it's those students who don't qualify, as I mentioned earlier, for the university diploma degree programs. And then students who are desperate to have a qualification, already in employment, they need some qualification for mobility, career mobility. And so they also fall into the trap, the internet trap as well. It's students who, I don't want to point a finger at students, but I think at some point it's also students who want to see the easy way out. And it's some of these bogus colleges do charge much less, like 5,000 Rand a year. So it's affordable. And the poor kid is getting funding from a range of sources, uncle, aunt, grandparent, and that's affordable. And so they'll end up with the college.
Okay. So your warning in terms of your, mapping out your own career path and your self-development and what qualifications you want to have is to look at the reputation and the, the existence of the legitimacy rather of the institution rather than chasing a piece of paper.
Yes. The first things first. They need to establish if the college is properly accredited and registered with the department. I'll give you the toll-free number. They need to engage critically, speak to other students, look at the credibility, look at what other students are doing, other graduates are doing. And many students are very on top of the game as well. There's the Hello Peter website. So they go onto the Hello Peter website and there's a lot of information there. So it's for students to do the research. And it's all there. Look, everyone's got on the internet now. So all you have to do is Google and you'll find the information.
Okay. What's the heaviest penalty on these bogus colleges that you've achieved?
Look, we've had to, some have paid fines. It depends on how the courts decide, 50,000 to 100,000. Some guys have left the country completely, midway through the case. We've had 2 cases where guys spent at least 4 years, 2 years suspended. So it's not really a heavy penalty. But on the register of private higher institutions, we have a list of bogus colleges. So the moment you are discovered and we realize that you intend to go on infinitely, and the case is still going on, we place the college on the list of bogus colleges. So students are aware this is a bogus college.